Hello friends and welcome back to House of Props. Today we're going to make a gold leaf crescent dart as seen in Marvel's Moon Knight. I printed the file on my Ender 3 Pro and you can find a link to the free file in the description below. I printed the dart vertically and adjusted the support overhang angle down to 25 degrees so there would be an adequate support on each side to keep the dart from wobbling during the printing. If you have not yet done so, or you're new to the channel, click the subscribe and notification buttons so you can see all future projects. Or if you're able to, scan this code to see all previous projects on this channel. Once the dart is finished printing, I remove the supports and check the scale and prepare to smooth the print lines. To start, I always begin with a 120 grit sandpaper. Then switch to a 180 grit, and finish with a 400 grit. I have found that sanding against the print grain yields the best and fastest results. I start with the 120 grit and remove the bulk of striations and then switch to the 180 grit and try to get into the nooks and crannies as much as possible. Then I use the 400 grit to polish and smooth the surface to remove any dust or loose fibers. When I have the surface as smooth as I can possibly sand it, I apply layers of a 2-in-1 filler and sandable primer. Usually I apply 3 coats and then use the 180 grit sandpaper to smooth each coat. After a layer of the primer has dried, I use the sandpaper very lightly on the surface. I want to smooth the primer and not remove too much. When the layers of the 2-in-1 have dried, I will spray the dart with a glossy black spray paint. I'm using this brand because it is cheap and it will be covered with gold eventually. And I have found that a black backing will help accentuate the gold. Now in the recessed areas of the dart, it will be extremely difficult to add gold leaf and have it look good. So I'm going to spray these areas with a gold metallic spray paint to help mask the fact that it is not gold leaf. When the gold paint has thoroughly dried, I prepare to apply the gold leaf. To do this, I need gold leaf, metal leaf adhesive, also known as sizing, a few pieces of wax paper, and 3 various brushes. I use one of the brushes to apply the sizing, which when wet is opaque white like glue. Just a heads up, make sure you use a disposable brush for this because the sizing will ruin the bristles. When applying the sizing, make sure you get an even coat. When I'm working with gold leaf, I like to work in small manageable areas, so I'm just doing the small section right now. When the sizing is ready to receive the gold leaf, it becomes completely clear. This can take anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes depending on environmental conditions. I then press a piece of the wax paper onto a sheet of the gold leaf. This will help lift the piece without needing to put your fingers directly onto the leaf. I then moved the gold over to the area with the sizing and pressed it down with both a finger and a brush. Make sure you do this on top of the wax paper or your finger may rip up some of the gold or a brush might scratch the surface. You need to rub across the entire surface. This makes sure that every millimeter of the leaf is firmly attached to the applied sizing. Once all the leaf was firmly attached, I used a 3rd brush to remove the excess leaf by simply brushing it away. Keep this excess leaf because it can still be used. When all the excess was removed, I started to apply sizing to the next section. To blend so there isn't any visible edge, I will apply sizing over the edge of the previous leaf and blend this with a second piece of gold. For the second piece of gold, I'm using the excess that I removed from the first piece of leaf and repeating the application process. I continued with this technique on both sides, and about an hour later I was left with this gold-plated moonknight Crescent Dart Blade. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with friends and family, and subscribe to House of Props for more amazing content. And remember, if you are building any of my builds or using any of my templates, feel free and tag me at House of Props on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, because I would really like to see your fantastic work. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.